What's going on, fellow zombie fans and Marvel fans alike? This is Solid Dave Snake, and I thought it would be fun on the days leading up to Halloween to go over some of these Marvel Select zombie action figures, the Villain series. They used to make zombie action figures in this Marvel Select line based off the hero characters. Like they had a Captain America, a Hulk, and a Spider-Man, but whenever rights switched over to Disney, they are not allowed to make any of the hero zombies any longer. So from now on in, we're only going to get the villains as zombies. I don't know what the deal is with that contract where they're allowed to make the villains as zombies but not heroes, but that's the way it is. And we have two so far. We have Zombie Magneto and Zombie Saberetooth. Zombie Magneto came out last year, and Saberetooth was just released about a month ago, just for this Halloween. So we're going to take a look at him first. So for now, I'm going to set Magneto to the side, and we'll pull Zombie Saberetooth up here and give you a closer look at him in box, and then pop him out and go over him in detail. But I really always have loved the Marvel Select packaging. It is real... Oh, it stands out, but the way that it's made, it makes them easily damaged with the way the cardboard is poking out on the sides and this big bubble. Makes it very easy to get damaged. But we have Zombie Saberetooth displayed in the bubble here with a nice piece of artwork here in the corner. Marvel Select always adds a nice logo or piece of artwork there on the bottom left-hand corner. And then we have a readout of his name on the side, and we'll go into free mode and give you a real close look at him before we pop him out. And there's a base back in there as well. Good look at the picture on the corner. And on the side, we always have a nice piece of artwork. And then on the back, we always have the figure displayed. As you can see, Villain Zombies collection. And there's the Zombie Magneto and Ultron. And then a readout, which I'll get a focus in up top here. It's a long readout, so I'll scroll down, but if you want to pause it and read any of it, you'll be able to. So really cool packaging, but let's crack this guy open and get a closer look at this Zombie Saberetooth. Alright, we have Zombie Saberetooth unleashed from his package prison now. And check this out. Yes, he has jaw articulation. How cool is that? And I've been messing around with this figure for about the past hour, and he has quickly became one of my most favorite action figures released this year. This figure is amazing. From sculpt, detail, paint, articulation, Diamond Select, really up the ante with this figure. They kind of have been recently with the previous Venom and Carnage. A lot of good Marvel Selects coming out recently. And whenever this was first announced, I was kind of wondering if they were going to be using the old body mold off of the original actual Saberetooth Marvel Select. And even though they are based off the same costume, they are completely different molds. This new one, the zombie one, actually blows the old one away in detail and articulation. But of course, they are completely different styles and about a 4, maybe 5 year time gap between these two being made. So just shows you how far Diamond Select has come along with these action figures. So let's take the old Saberetooth to the side here and give you a real good look at this zombie Saberetooth. And like a lot of Marvel Selects, he did come with a base stand. Just like with the Magneto zombie, coming with a base stand that kind of fits in the same style of this one, with the Green Goblin. Of course, his glider being down here. And they always put a lot of detail in these bases. That looks really good. See the claw marks on the ground and on the Green Goblin's glider. And there's not much paint variation on the actual concrete, which is good. I mean, it is shaded to look like concrete, but it's hard to see. Up under the hang glider here is ripped in two, and you can actually see some cables and other components to the hang glider inside. Real tough to see up under there unless you have it in hand. But pretty cool base stand. And I was wondering, because he does have peg holes on the bottom of his feet, but there's no pegs on the actual display here. So I thought, let's try putting his foot within the glider, and that does work. Of course, I don't know why Zombie Saberetooth would have his foot in there, but that holds him in a pretty dynamic pose. So, pretty cool display stand. Now let's get an up-close look at this Zombie Saberetooth. And there is a ton of detail all over. I really love this head sculpt, and that jaw articulation really knocked it out of the park for me. Let me get a good zoom here. And his eyes are whited out, teeth baring, almost like his jaw was becoming exposed. Great blood splatter along his fur, up on his cheeks, even along the fur around his shoulders. And this is a more pliable plastic around here, but it is blood soaked on the front. And the top of his head and the hair has really great detail. You can even see a bit of the blood if I move his head down on the back of the coat. And you're going to notice a lot of gore detail all over this action figure. On his right shoulder here, you can see his muscle tissue exposed and a big chunk taken out of it. And that continues down his arm. All those tendons and muscles exposed in his hand. And the paint they used for the blood and tissue is real glossy and just looks natural. Very gruesome. Very gruesomely detailed. Of course, Saberetooth has these spikes on the back of his elbows. And on this side, you can see the bone exposed. Whereas on the right-hand side, it's still covered up with part of the costume. So great attention to detail. A lot of little stuff like that thrown in. Here on his other wrist, you can see a piece of his bone exposed. His hand is in a reaching out motion. You can see his claws on the end. Great detail. Even on the inside of the hand. Looks gnarly. Big chunk taken out of the middle. Right hand side of his chest. This side, it looks like Wolverine gashed out his guts. Perfect Wolverine claw mark there. And one thing that I really love about this figure compared to the old Saberetooth figure is the lines on the previous Saberetooth figure were just painted on, where this one, these variations in the costume are actually sculpted in there, and it really makes it pop out. I love that. Great definition and all the muscle tone. Diamond Select just outdid themselves with this figure. I love the way his mane is on the back. Pops up like a lion's almost. Or like a Saberetooth. Little chunk missing on this corner. This wound really exposes a lot of muscle tissue. Another chunk bitten out right here. And all the articulation points fit seamlessly. As you can see, they added in the muscle tissue on this side of the bicep. So when you fold it in, it's kind of more hidden, but whenever you move it out, it pops out a little bit. That looks real good. And the detail just continues down on the legs. Looks like another Wolverine scratch. Once again, this part of the costume is sculpted in there, so it pops out. And a hell of a wound on his right calf. A lot of exposed muscles. A little bit of bone coming out right there at the articulation point. Even down to the foot. And he has a chunk taken out on this side as well. So just an amazingly sculpted and painted action figure. One of my favorite this year. And articulation wise, the Marvel Selects usually are not as good as the Marvel Legends, but I really do like the articulation on this figure. He is limited to some extent in parts, but I love this jaw articulation. That really just made it for me. Being able to have him in a more roaring or biting appearance is great. Now, you don't get a whole lot of movement, but it's just nice to have even that extra bit. And his head is on a ball joint, so you can only get him to look this far up, but pretty far down. And even get some tilt from side to side to get that kind of zombie appearance. And you can rotate it all the way to the fur. You can't really get it past that, but you don't need to. And his shoulders are on a ball joint and a hinge, which will rotate all the way around and hinge that far down, this far up. Single hinges on the elbows, which are going to be stiff when you first get them. And here's where it's kind of limited. You can't get it up that much, and you can't really get it back that much either. And it's pretty much the same on this side. Maybe a little further up on this side. And he only has a cut at the wrist, which is a little limited as well. But to keep that great sculpt, I'm fine with it. And of course, this left hand is in a more grabbing position, where this one is more closed-fisted. And he has a cut at the waist, which it'll rotate all the way around, but the only problem with that is the lines on the costume are not going to match up whenever you turn it. So, really displaying it, you just want to have it right there. And then Walking Dead fans will be familiar with this hip articulation, because he will kick up to almost 90 degrees and not kick back past his butt, but he will kick out to the side like those Walking Dead action figures articulation is now. And it'll go all the way into there. And he does have double jointed knees on both knees, so that's really good. Get really far up on both sides. So that's great. And his ankles have a hinge, which will go that far up and that far back. But he also has the ankle pivot, which I really love that these Marvel Selects have been adding that in. So, great action figure. I really love this zombie line of the heroes and the villains. And it's a shame we won't be getting any more heroes, but I will be getting all these villain zombies that come out because they are just too cool. So, alright guys, thanks for watching, and stay tuned because the Zombie Magneto review will be coming up next.